All right, how's everybody doing today? Hey, this is Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network, host of the African History Network show. I'm a talk show host, researcher, lecturer, and writer. It is Monday, May 6th, 2019, and we are live. So everybody share this broadcast on your Facebook page. So I wanted to deal with this topic that I talked about some on my Sunday night show on May 5th, the African History Network show, because there have been some new developments in this. And this deals with the Mueller Report, and this deals with 10 instances of obstruction of justice that Trump was alleged to have committed. So I wanted to talk about, we know that Michael Cohen reported to prison today in upstate New York for 3 years. So I want to deal with this news that Trump's former attorney, Michael Cohen, reported to prison. And at the same time, you had now it's almost 500 former federal prosecutors who have signed a petition stating that the only reason why Trump was not indicted for obstruction of justice is because of the Office of Legal Counsel memo stating a sitting president cannot be indicted. So as things heat up, as Attorney General William Barr may be held in contempt of Congress, if the House Judiciary Committee cannot work out a deal with him to get access to the full Mueller report, the unredacted Mueller report. All these things are taking place at the same time. And the Mueller report is a roadmap to impeachment, okay? So how's everybody doing? Share this broadcast on your Facebook page. Invite your friends to tune in also. We have, who do we have? We have Letitia, Zuri, David, just a few of the people watching. And African-American business owners, post the name of your business here in the thread of the broadcast. We'll let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network also. Okay, email us at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com, customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. All right, so NBC News and Washington Post and New York Times have articles dealing with these topics today. So I'm going to share some of that with you. And I've been watching some of the coverage also. And Michael Cohen, before he went into prison, he also made a statement to the press. And he talked about basically that he had more information to share that he has not already shared. He said the truth is going to come out. And, you know, Michael Cohen has to wonder, all he did was what Trump told him to do. Michael Cohen is going to prison and Trump is still in the White House. So we're going to see how this works out. But I think Trump is going to be forced to resign from office, just like Richard Nixon was forced to resign from office. And keep in mind, when we look at Richard Nixon and Watergate, Richard Nixon was reelected to a second term in November of 1973. He was reelected to a second term. He was a highly popular president. But by August 8th of the following year, 1974, Nixon was forced to resign from office. He was forced to announce he was resigning from office. Okay, so NBCnews.com has an article, Trump's ex-lawyer Cohen arrives at federal prison to start 3-year sentence. Okay, and this is from May 6, 2019. Michael Cohen, Donald Trump's former lawyer and fixer, who pleaded guilty in 2018 to an array of white-collar crimes, arrived at a federal prison in upstate New York on Monday, May 6, 2019, to begin serving his 3-year sentence. Okay. Now, Michael Cohen gave a brief statement to reporters outside his New York City apartment on Monday morning before jumping in a waiting car to travel to the Federal Correctional Institution, Otisville, That's where he's staying, Otisville, which is a large federal prison complex in the Catskills region. Okay. Michael Cohen told the press, he said, quote, "I hope that when I rejoin my family and friends, that the country will be in a place without xenophobia, injustice, and lies at the helm of our country." Okay. There still remains much to be told, and I look forward to the day that I can share the truth. So he still has some secrets, it sounds like, to tell. Now, Michael Cohen checked in at Otisville, which is about 75 miles northwest of New York City, just before noon on Monday, May 6, 2019. He had been required to report by 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, so now at Otisville, Michael Cohen joins other quasi-celebrity criminals like Jersey Shore star Michael the Situation Sorrentino, who pleaded guilty to tax evasion, and Fire Festival organizer Bill McFarland. Okay, so this is it's not maximum security. It's I think minimum security, and it's a federal prison, not state prison. Okay, because state prison is much worse. But if we look at the article from, there was another one from the Washington Post today, which deals with this, and I got the email this morning about a petition that almost 500 former federal prosecutors have signed. And this petition basically states that if it had not been for the Office of Legal Counsel memo stating that a sitting president could not be indicted, Donald Trump would be indicted right now. And they're saying Donald Trump should have been indicted. So the name of this article from the Washington Post, NBCnews.com also has an article about this as well. Trump would have been charged with obstruction were he not president. Hundreds of federal prosecutors assert Trump would have been charged with obstruction were he not president. Hundreds of former federal prosecutors assert. They're basically saying if this had been that 328 million people in the US, if this had been any of the other 328 million people in the US, basically, he would have been indicted. I guess that includes children too. He would have been indicted. So more than 450 is actually, I just checked the petition, and it's 479 now, but more than 450 former federal prosecutors who worked in Republican and Democratic administrations have signed on to a statement asserting special counsel Robert Mueller's findings would have produced obstruction charges against Donald Trump if not for the office he holds. Now, the statement signed by a myriad former career government employees as well as high-profile political appointees offers a rebuttal to Attorney General William Barr's determination that the evidence Mueller uncovered was "quote unquote" not sufficient to establish that Trump committed a crime. And on my show Sunday night, I talked about Washington Post had a good summary called 6 Takeaways from William Barr's tense hearing. 6 takeaways from William Barr's tense hearing. Okay, so we'll post the links to these articles here on the thread of the broadcast, so you can check this out. Also, we'll post the link to the full, well, it's the redacted, not the full, but the redacted Mueller report, all 448 pages of it. I'm still going through it, reading it. I just ordered the actual book that the Washington Post put out, which came out April 30th, which is the Mueller Report plus annotations from the Washington Post. So I just ordered that. So when I do my next Sunday night show, I'll be referencing that as well. Okay, because this is deep right here, and we're basically in a constitutional crisis right now. Okay, this is deep. And this is why, this is an example of how elections have consequences. This is the reason why the 2020 election is so important. Nancy Pelosi in the New York Times article recently said that she fears if it's not a landslide or overwhelming, a decisive defeat of Trump, she fears he will not leave office. Okay, he may just stay there. Okay, so this is an example of how elections have consequences, and Trump must go, period. Okay, Trump has got to go. All right, so we have Martell, we have Zuri, we have Joseph, just a few of the people watching. And then African-American business owners, post the name of your business here on the thread of the broadcast. And we'll let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network. A current promotion, get 3 months for the price of one. Email us at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com, customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. All right, let's continue here. So if we go back to the article from Washington Post. All right, so, okay, so Robert Mueller had declined to say one way or the other whether Trump should have been charged, citing a Justice Department legal opinion that sitting presidents cannot be indicted, as well as concerns about the fairness of accusing someone for whom there can be no court proceeding. So saying that if he accused Trump of crimes and Trump cannot be put on trial, cannot be indicted by the Justice Department, then Trump cannot clear his name in court, okay? Mueller was basically leaving this up to Congress based upon the Article 2 powers of Congress to impeach a president, Article 2, Section 4. He was leaving this up to Congress. Now, one of the former federal prosecutors who signed the petition said, quote, "Each of us believes that the conduct of President Trump described in Special Counsel Robert Mueller's report would, in the case of any other person not covered by the Office of Legal Counsel policy against indicting a sitting president, result in multiple felony charges for obstruction of justice." Okay, and this is what the federal prosecutors wrote. So this petition is on medium.com. Okay, in the article that we just posted, it has the link to the actual petition. Actually, I have it pulled up here as well. It's called Statement by Former Federal Prosecutors. This is from medium.com. We'll actually post a link to the full petition here also. It's called Statement by Former Federal Prosecutors. And they lay out the argument. They lay out their case. They're absolutely correct. Also, thinkprogress.org has a really good article as well. I didn't get a chance to talk about it on my show Sunday night. This is from April 19, 2019. Mueller detailed 10 times Trump acted to derail the Russia investigation and protect himself. That's called obstruction of justice. Mueller detailed 10 times Trump acted to derail the Russia investigation and protect himself. The report explicitly didn't clear the president of the crime of obstruction of justice, but what did it actually find? Okay, and it lists 10 instances of obstruction of justice. And this is obstruction of justice, some of this in plain sight. Trump directly asked the FBI to let good guy Flynn get away with crimes. Trump fired the FBI director, James Comey, and said he did it to sabotage the investigation. May 11th, 2017, Trump was interviewed by Lester Holt on NBC News, and he said basically that he fired Comey because of the Russia investigation. He said the Russia investigation was a hoax, and he fired Comey over the Russia investigation. 3, Trump manipulated his son's statement, Donald Trump Jr., about the 2016 Trump Tower meeting. 4, Trump pressured intelligence officials to interfere in the investigation, just like Richard Nixon did. Richard Nixon tried to use the CIA to get the FBI to back off of the Watergate investigation. That was called obstruction of justice. The first article of impeachment of Richard Nixon was obstruction of justice. 5, Trump repeatedly pushed then Attorney General Jeff Sessions to yank Mueller's chain. Okay. 6, Trump tried to thwart Paul Manafort's cooperation with the Mueller investigation. 7, Trump instructed White House counsel Don McGahn at the time to fire Mueller. Okay, not only did he instruct him to fire Mueller, he then told Don McGahn to lie about him being instructed to fire Mueller as well. Okay, after the New York Times reported about Donald Trump instructing White House counsel Don McGahn to push Mueller out, fire him, or remove him, Trump summoned White House counsel Don McGahn for another meeting and instructed him to publicly deny the New York Times report. Don McGahn refused to lie, stating that the report was accurate. Number 9, Trump instructed Corey Lewandowski to deliver a message to Attorney General Jeff Sessions to curb Mueller in the investigation. 10, Trump influenced Michael Cohen's testimony on the Moscow Project. Okay, the first time the president's former lawyer and fixer Michael Cohen was asked to testify before Congress, Michael Cohen and his attorneys were in constant communication with the president's personal attorneys, who insisted Michael Cohen stick to the party line, quote unquote party line, which would include denying that Trump had any knowledge or involvement in a major real estate deal in Moscow. That was a lie. Michael Cohen perjured himself in Congress when he testified in front of Congress. Michael Cohen repeated the lie to the Washington Post. Michael Cohen was told not to contradict the president during his testimony, and he discussed a possible presidential pardon with Trump's personal attorney in exchange for staying on message. Robert Mueller could not establish that Trump explicitly directed Michael Cohen to lie, nor could he determine whether the president knew what was discussed when Michael Cohen spoke to the president's attorneys about his false statements to Congress. Okay, so we'll post a link here. Read this. I mean, this is deep. A lot of this is obstruction of justice in plain sight. Okay, and just because you do obstruction of justice in plain sight does not make it legal. All right, if you call a bank and let them know that you're on the way to the bank to rob the bank, and when you get to the bank, you put a sign outside the door saying bank robbery in progress, that doesn't make it legal. Just because it's done in plain sight does not make it legal, okay? All right, so let's post this link. This is a really good article from thinkprogress.org that deals with the 10 instances of obstruction of justice that Trump was engaged in, that Robert Mueller laid out. Okay, and then also I'm going to give you the link here to the 448-page Mueller report as well. NBCnews.com has it in the PDF. New York Times has it also where it's searchable. The one New York Times has is really good. So let me give you this link as well. See if I can pull this up quickly here. So I have thousands of bookmarked articles. Is that New York Times or Washington Post? Read the full Mueller report. Yeah, here it is right here, New York Times. Okay. Yeah, this is the full 448-page Mueller report, and it's broken down into sections as well. Okay, so this is really good. I think this is it. Yeah, and they have key takeaways, also list of Russian contacts, who has been charged. So New York Times really did their thing with this. So let's post this link here also for you. Check this out. Okay, there we go. And it's called, if you want to search, Google it or search on New York Times website, read the Mueller report, searchable document and index. Read the Mueller report, searchable document and index. Okay, so check that out also. And NBCnews.com has it at their website. You can search for the Mueller report also, because NBC News, it's free to read all their articles. With New York Times, you're limited to 4 articles per, is it week or month, something like that. I have a digital subscription. I pay them $15 a month to be able to have unlimited access. But we posted that also for you. Okay, let's get back to this. So when we look at the article, I have a digital subscription to the Washington Post as well, because I read so many articles from both publications each day. All right, so if we go back to the article from the Washington Post, this is entitled, "Trump would have been charged with obstruction were he not president, hundreds of former federal prosecutors assert." Okay. Let's go back to this article. So in the petition at medium.com, the former federal prosecutors said, "Each of us believes that the conduct of President Trump described in the special counsel report, described in special counsel Robert Mueller's report, would, in the case of any other person not covered by the Office of Legal Counsel policy against indicting a sitting president, result in multiple felony charges for obstruction of justice." Okay. We emphasize that these are not matters of close professional judgment. Of course, there are potential defenses or arguments that could be raised in response to an indictment of the nature we describe here. But to look at these facts and say that a prosecutor could not probably sustain a conviction for obstruction of justice, the standards set out in principles of federal prosecution, runs counter to logic and our experience. All right, so they're laying it out, and they are saying that what William Barr did was wrong. We know Barr was Trump's handpicked attorney who auditioned for the job by writing an unsolicited 19-page essay displaying a very strange understanding of obstruction of justice, basically saying that a sitting president cannot commit obstruction of justice. All right, so now, let me see, look at the notes here. All right, so the list of former prosecutors also includes more than 20 former U.S. attorneys and more than 100 people with at least 20 years of service at the Justice Department. Most of them former career officials. The signers worked in every presidential administration since that of Dwight D. Eisenhower. Senator Richard Blumenthal, a former federal prosecutor who was a current U.S. Senator, Democrat, joined the letter after news of it broke. And Representative Adam Schiff, who is the chair of the House Intelligence Committee, he's a former prosecutor, also tweeted his support for its premise. Now, the signatures were collected by the nonprofit group Protect Democracy, which counts Justice Department alumni among its staff, and was contacted about the statement last week by a group of former federal prosecutors. Okay, let me see. Let me get past some of this here. All right. Now, they also went on to say all of this conduct trying to control and impede the investigation against the president by leveraging his authority over others is similar to conduct we have seen charged against other public officials and people in powerful positions. Okay, they wrote, the former federal prosecutors wrote that prosecuting such cases was, quote, critical because unchecked obstruction, which allows intentional interference with criminal investigations to go unpunished, puts our whole system of justice at risk. Okay, now, as African Americans, we have some legitimate grievances with the criminal justice system, but Trump needs to be brought to justice. Trump needs to be brought to justice, period. And here you got, and most of these prosecutors are white, and they're saying, and they're Democrats and Republicans, they're saying, no, what he's doing is wrong, what Barr did is wrong. Okay, so NBCnews.com also had a good article dealing with this topic entitled, "Hundreds of Former Prosecutors Say Trump Would Have Been Indicted If He Were Not President." Okay, and let me just share a little bit with some excerpts from this article here that were not covered in the one from the Post. So let me scroll down just a second here. All right, so the Mueller report did not say that Trump would have been charged had he not been president, but it did cite the longstanding opinion from the Justice Department's Office of Legal Counsel that says a sitting president cannot be indicted. Now, Special Counsel Robert Mueller said that his team, quote, accepted OLC's legal conclusion for the purpose of exercising prosecutorial jurisdiction, for the purpose of exercising prosecutorial jurisdiction. And Mueller is basically leaving this up to Congress to determine what to do with Trump. All right, let's go back to this one. Okay, so the Mueller report, which identified 10 episodes that could be considered potential obstruction of justice, did not come to a conclusion on whether to charge the president. Attorney General William Barr, in a letter to Congress sent before the redacted report was made public, said that he had decided that Trump did not obstruct the probe. Now, as Senator Kamala Harris exposed when Barr went before the U.S. Senate on Wednesday, May 1st, he did not review the underlying evidence that was used to come to the conclusions in the Mueller report. When Barr decided that Trump did not commit obstruction of justice, okay? And what's interesting here is when we look at, and we'll post this link also, 6 takeaways from William Barr's tense hearing. 6 takeaways from William Barr's tense hearing. William Barr, in front of the U.S. Senate, said that he did not exonerate Trump. Okay, after he stood there at his press conference and said there was no obstruction of justice. Okay, so number 2, I didn't exonerate Trump. Despite Attorney General William Barr's posture generally favoring Trump when it came to legal questions, there were a couple of moments in which he disputed key Trump talking points. There were a couple of moments where he disputed key Trump talking points. Quote, I didn't exonerate, end quote. I said that we didn't believe there was sufficient evidence to establish an obstruction offense. So William Barr, because I sat there and watched basically all of the testimony, all of the hearings. William Barr said he did not exonerate Trump. So why is Trump running around saying no obstruction of justice and saying that he was totally exonerated? William Barr told the U.S. Senate, quote, I didn't exonerate. I said that we didn't believe that there was sufficient evidence to establish an obstruction offense. I wonder if Fox News is going to report this. I wonder if Fox News is going to report this. It's very interesting. We'll come to some of your comments in just a minute here, okay? And if you like this type of information, you could donate to the African History Network, paypal.me/the AHN show, paypal.me/the AHN show, or at our website, africanhistorynetwork.com, africanhistorynetwork.com. And so us keep doing the research, stay on the air, broadcast our Sunday night show, the African History Network show, pay for all this paper and ink that I use to print all this stuff up. All right, paypal.me/the AHN show. And African American business owners, post the name of your business here on the thread of the broadcast. We'll let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network. Email us at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com, customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. Our current promotion, get 3 months for the price of 1. So that's a clear distinction between saying the Mueller report totally exonerated me, no obstruction, and Attorney General William Barr saying that he didn't believe that there was sufficient evidence to establish an obstruction case. Okay, that's a key distinction because it allows for the possibility that Donald Trump did obstruct justice, but that as a prosecutor, he wouldn't have recommended charging the crime based on the evidence. Okay, this is, you read this, I talked about this on my Sunday night show. Read this. This is from the Washington Post. 6 takeaways from William Barr's tense hearing. 6 takeaways from William Barr's tense hearing. All right. And I ordered the Mueller report from the Washington Post. So I'm going to dig into that when I get that. I'll get that in a few days here. Okay, let's go back to the article from the NBC News, and we'll post the link here also for this. Okay, so looking at the 10 episodes of potential obstruction of justice that Robert Mueller laid out, Attorney General William Barr, in a letter to Congress sent before the redacted report was made possible, said that he had decided that Trump did not obstruct the probe. Barr said they did not amount to illegal activity, but by the president, and that he disagreed with some of Mueller's legal theories on whether those episodes amounted to obstruction, quote, as a matter of law, end quote. Now, according to Robert Mueller's 448-page report, his office weighed charging Trump with obstruction, but did not, in part because, quote, we recognized that a federal criminal accusation against a sitting president would place burdens on the president's capacity to govern and potentially preempt constitutional process for addressing presidential misconduct, end quote. He's dealing with Congress. He was basically leaving this up to Congress to determine, specifically the House of Representatives, to determine what they wanted to do based upon Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution and their powers to impeach a president. Now, Mueller's report added, quote, the president's efforts to influence the investigation were mostly unsuccessful, but that is largely because the persons who surrounded the president declined to carry out orders or accede to his requests, end quote. Okay, so check this out also from NBCnews.com. And this is by D'Arturo Clark. Hundreds of former prosecutors say Trump would have been indicted if he were not president, okay? And this goes deeper into this as well. And you can actually read the actual petition at medium.com. So this puts more pressure, and the Mueller report is a roadmap to impeachment. And if you look at what Nancy Pelosi said, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who really has a balancing act to do, because she also has to meet with Trump, as they did last week, her and Chuck Schumer, dealing with infrastructure, okay, an infrastructure deal. She has to do that. She has to keep the House members of the Democratic Party together, even though some are saying we need to have impeachment hearings now, like Maxine Waters. And I love Maxine Waters, but impeachment is a process. And what has to happen right now is that they should have hearings of the witnesses and have hearings with Robert Mueller. Now, Robert Mueller may testify May 15th. If he does, I mean, that's going to be, everybody around the country is going to watch that. Testify in front of the House of Representatives. And Senator Lindsey Graham has changed his position and saying that he's looking at possibly having Robert Mueller come testify in front of the U.S. Senate, because Senator Lindsey Graham from South Carolina is the chair of the House, is the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee. So now Trump, over the course of about 48 hours, has reversed his position, because Friday, May 3rd, he was saying it's up to the Justice Department if Robert Mueller testifies in front of Congress. Now he's saying now he doesn't want Mueller to testify in front of Congress. What happened? Why is he so scared of Mueller? If you believe that the Mueller report exonerates you on criminal conspiracy regarding working with Russians, and totally exonerates you on obstruction of justice, as Trump keeps lying and saying it does. If you believe this, why wouldn't you want the guy who actually wrote the report and headed up the investigation to testify in front of Congress and tell them what's in the report? And why wouldn't you want him to tell Congress, oh, the report totally exonerates Trump on criminal conspiracy and obstruction? What are you afraid of? See, Trump is afraid of the truth coming out, and Trump has not read the Mueller report yet. This is why he doesn't want Mueller to testify. Okay, Zuri said so many steps to go. Right, yeah, it's a process, and the reason why they see the same thing happened in Watergate. The Watergate hearings changed the course of everything because Richard Nixon was a very popular president. He won a landslide re-election in November 1973. But the Watergate hearings brought the witnesses, brought White House counsel John Dean. It brought John Ehrlichman, domestic policy advisor. It brought all these people. They testified in front of Congress. Millions of people watched this across the country. This is at a time when you only had 3 networks. And they got to hear the evidence. They got to judge the credibility of the witnesses. And that changed public opinion. That changed public opinion. And they realized Nixon was guilty of obstructing justice. Nixon was trying to use the CIA to get the FBI to back off the Watergate investigation. He was charged with the first article of impeachment was obstruction of justice. Second article of impeachment was abuse of power. And then also he was trying to get people to change testimony, things like this. Okay, so even though Nixon was not put on trial, articles of impeachment were drawn up, but he resigned before he was put on trial. So what's done in the dark is going to come to light. What's done in the dark is going to come to light. These truths are coming out. And when Michael Cohen testified in front of the House, it was the House, not the Judiciary Committee, not the, was it the Intelligence Committee? No, not the Intelligence Committee. It was the House Oversight Committee. Representative Elijah Cummings is the chair of the House Oversight Committee. Michael Cohen talked to the Republicans when he was like his opening statements. And he was saying that I'm in this situation and I'm going to prison basically because I became corrupted by Donald Trump. I tried to protect Trump. He said, you're doing basically the same thing I was doing. He said, I was in your shoes before. He's basically saying you're trying to protect Trump as well. He said, you're going to end up like me. He was telling the Republicans on the House Judiciary Committee, you keep trying to protect Trump. He said, you're going to end up like me. All right, so there's a universal law called karma. There's something called the chickens coming back home to roost. That energy you put out, what you put out comes back. This is what's taking place. Okay. All right, so we have a couple of new sponsors also. African-American business owners, post the name of your business here in the thread of the broadcast. Email us at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. We'll let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network. Now, we know Mother's Day is coming up and Dark Magentas can help. Dark Magentas specializes in creating home spa products based on nature's healing and soothing properties. Dark Magenta carries essential oil and cannabidiol infused bath bombs, shower steamers, sugar scrubs, and soaps. They include oils and herbs such as lavender, rosemary, eucalyptus, sage, cedarwood, oatmeal, shea butter, cannabidiol, and more. They also carry oil diffusers and 100% pure essential oils. Visit their website, darkmagentas.com, MAGENTAS, and indulge in these treats for the body and the mind. Okay, so women can get this for themselves. Men can buy this for women also. All right, get it for your mothers, get it for your wives, etc. Now, it's 2019. And it's time to get your financial goals and your financial house in order. And certified financial planner Martisha Patterson can help. Now, she has over 19 years of experience in the industry, and she is helping people just like you focus on and achieve your financial goals. If you need help with budgeting, saving for emergencies or retirement, if you want to start investing but don't know where to start, she can help you with this, okay? Visit her website, pattersonplans17.com. Pattersonplans, the number 17.com. You can also email her at pattersonplans17@gmail.com. pattersonplans17@gmail.com. All right, let's look at some of your comments. Yvette said, nice shirt. Yeah, this is celebrating African-American women, everybody from Harriet Tubman to Angela Davis to Ella Baker, who Ella Baker was not just a civil rights activist. Ella Baker was a co-founder of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, along with Dr. King, co-founded in 1957. Then she helped to co-found SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, in April of 1960, and SNCC came out of the SCLC, Southern Leadership Conference. We have Ida B. Wells, one of the original Ride or Die chicks, and I tell people, if you know more about Cardi B than Ida B. Wells, something is wrong. Harriet Tubman, Zora Neale Hurston, Michelle Obama, First Lady for life, Michelle Obama. She said, I will always be your First Lady. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, Nina Simone. Okay. Let's see who else we have here. Okay, Yvette Zuri. Didn't read the whole Mueller report. He confessed when Kamala Harris was questioning him. Yeah. Attorney General William Barr stated that he did not read the underlying evidence, okay, that was used to come to the conclusions in the Mueller report when he made his charging decision, when he made his decision not to recommend charges of obstruction of justice or anything like that. When he made that charging decision, he did not read the underlying evidence. Senator Kamala Harris, people say what they want to. She is sharp. She is sharp. And she said, you need a prosecutor to prosecute Trump. She said she can be the prosecutor to pick Trump apart and prosecute Trump. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, so we'll post some more links here for you all. Also, now those in the Detroit area, hey, Saturday, May 11th, I'll be speaking at the Pre-Mother's Day African Ball, Saturday, May 11th, 2019, at 6 p.m. to 12 p.m. at the International Institute, located at 111 East Kirby Street in Detroit. Tickets are $40. There'll be a dinner served at 7 p.m. There'll be dinner, dancing, African and vegetarian food included. There'll be African cultural dancers and drummers. There'll be a prize for best African attire. I'll be doing a presentation dealing with ancient Africans in America and great African women in history, the mothers of civilization. There'll be live musical performances by the Odu Afrobeat Orchestra, okay, and Adeboye, starring Adeboye. The tickets are $40. For more information, call 313-717-5578, 313-717-5578, or 313-603-1340, 313-603-1340. We'll get this up on our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com also. All right, so I know a lot of things are going on in the news, but pay attention to these stories dealing with Trump, dealing with obstruction of justice, dealing with the Mueller report. This is an example of how elections have consequences. This is also, we have to understand also that this is, politics is the legal distribution of scarce wealth, power, and resources. Politics is the legal distribution of scarce wealth, power, and resources, and the writing of laws, statutes, ordinances, amendments, and treaties, their adoption, interpretation, and enforcement. So this is why we need to read the U.S. Constitution. Go to loc.gov, and read the U.S. Constitution. All this is dealing with law. Okay, Article 6 of the U.S. Constitution tells you that the U.S. Constitution, all of the previous treaties and all of the subsequent treaties are the supreme law of the land. And when we look at things like the chair of the House of Representatives Ways and Means Committee, subpoenaing, requesting the Trump's tax returns. Okay, all this is dealing with law. All this is dealing with law. All right, and our taxpayer dollars are paying these people's salaries, and the policies that they put in place, our taxpayer dollars pay for those policies, whether you voted for them or not, whether the policies benefit you or not. Our taxpayer dollars pay for those policies as well. Okay, so this is why we need to pay. This is why we need to pay attention to this. This is an example of how elections have consequences. All right, follow us on our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, Imhotep, Imhotep on YouTube, on Facebook, The African History Network, The African History Network on Facebook, and turn on the notifications so you know when we go live. If you like this type of information, you can donate to the African History Network, paypal.me/the AHN show, paypal.me/the AHN show, or at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Click on the yellow donate button. You can also set up for a recurring donation as well. So the donations help us to keep doing the research, pay the bills, etc., stay on the air. And I teach online courses also. So we have them all on demand. It's a 10-course online bundle pack. It's called Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. So this is a 14-hour, 7-session online course. I deal with thousands of years of history, do a PowerPoint presentation, have video clips, book references, etc. And it's a 14-hour, 7-session online course. It's all on demand. Watch at your own pace. It's on sale for $40, regularly $130. And the other courses in the online bundle pack also, including Great African Women in History, the Mothers of Civilization. All right, so look, hey, we have to get out of here. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's correct your own behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. Remember, right now it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you next time. Peace.